The first part of hemming your clothes is to mark the new hemline. It's easier to have someone help you than it is to do it yourself. I'm going to show you on a pair of pants first. You want to start at the center back, fold your hem up to where you think you're going to like it, and then mark it with a safety pin. Go ahead and do the center front the same way, fold it up, mark it where you think you're going to want it, and then pin it with your safety pin. You don't have to worry about pinning your side seams because they'll just fall into place with what the front and the back does. If you have a narrower pair of pants, you don't want to make the angle too high. You want to keep it as even as possible because otherwise it'll pucker unless you do a very narrow top stitched hem. If your pants are wider, you can bring the front up a little bit shorter, no more than a ½ inch if you want, but try to keep it as even as possible. Okay, when you're getting ready to hem a dress or a skirt, I like to use a yardstick. You can use a tape measure or whatever else, or just eyeball it. But first you want to go ahead and pin up the front where you want it to go, and obviously mark it with your safety pin. And then measure up from the floor using your yardstick, and we're at 19 1/4. So then you want to go around to the back, another safety pin, and mark it 19 1/4. Just let your pin hold there, and then fold it up to where your pin mark is, and then stick your pin in. And on skirts and dresses, I like to do the same thing then on the side seam. Line it up, mark your 19 1/4, fold it up, and then stick your pin in. And then you'll get it even all the way around. If you're working on something that's going really short, you might want to just go and just kind of eyeball stick a few more pins in, so you can tell on half of it how nice it's going to look. If you're really not sure, you can go ahead and pin all the way around. But this will give you a general idea of how it's going to look when it's done. Okay, your first step is to take your pins and move them down to the hemline. And you want to try and just catch the outer fabric because you want to open up that hem facing. And then go to this side and move your pin there, and that gives you a mark for your new hemline. The next you need to go to the inside and you need to rip out the original hem stitching. This is a machine stitched blind hem, and to show you how to do it with matching thread is going to be really difficult for you to see, so I'm going to show you a sample on some red fabric. I've done a sample on red fabric with black thread so you can see it in detail. And if you look, you can see that there's a thread that goes up and around and a thread that goes straight across. You want to take your scissors and very carefully go under there and cut through all 3 threads. And then go to the next straight across thread and very carefully wiggle it up and then gently pull it out. And you don't want the thread get too long. Keep going back to getting close to the thread. And if it happens to break somewhere along the way, just go ahead and cut the 3 threads again, and then get that one straight across, lift it up, and start again. And then when you're done, go back and pick out the last few threads. Next, to make things a little bit easier, you want to go ahead and iron out that crease just to get it a little bit flatter. And remember, be sure and test your iron before you iron it. Next, we need to cut the new hemline. So go ahead and fold your pants in half, line up your outseam and your inseam on the bottom layer, and then do the same thing on the top leg, your inseam and your outseam. Try to get those as even as possible. If you have creases, it helps. And then line up your hemlines and stick a pin about there to hold it in place. And the same thing, line up the hems. You want to make sure this is nice and even. And then for your hem facing, this originally was 1.5 inches. And that's generally what I like to do for a hem facing. You can do whatever you want, but if you're going to do it by hand, 1.5 inches to 2 inches is generally nice. So we'll stick it to the 1.5 inches, and I'm putting the half mark here so that'll give me 1.5 inches, half mark there on the pin mark, which is your hemline. And then go ahead and chalk a new line. Then you want to take your pinking shears, because that'll cut your hem in a zigzag and keep it from raveling. So go ahead and cut on your line. Next we want to mark the new hemline. So take a straight pin and going to the bottom layer of the pants, go ahead and stick it through right at the pin mark, and then you can take this pin and stick it through on the top layer, and then you can get rid of your safety pin. And then you want to do the same thing on the other side. The bottom layer, stick it right at the pin mark, take this pin, stick it right at the pin, take out those, and then you can pull this apart. Then we want to pin the hem up, and you want to take it and you want to fold it right on the pin, which is your hemline. Take this out and put your pins sideways, and do the same thing over here. Fold it right on the pin and stick your pin in. And then if you pull it open, it'll kind of set itself. And then you want to take your little ruler and make sure you're on your 1.5 inch mark. We're good there. And then stick a couple pins in. And then go to the other side. Then to sew your hem, I'm going to start by showing you back on the sample of the red fabric and black thread so you can see in detail. I'm going to do a sample for you on red fabric using black thread so you can see in detail how it's done. So go ahead and thread your needle with black thread and knot your end, and you want single thread. And to knot on, remember if you watch the sewing tips, you want to do about 1/8 to 1/4 inch stitch, pull it through, and then in about the same place do one more stitch, and that locks your stitch on. And make sure you don't pull too tight so you pucker. And then doing a zigzag stitch, you want to go right above the cut edge and just take a few threads of your outer fabric and pull through. And then go back down here, and here you can pick up 1/8 to 1/4 inch and pull through. And then you just keep doing your zigzag stitch all the way down. And if you notice, as I pulling through, I put my thumb over the thread, which helps it from tangling. And then just pick up a little bit there. And then when you're picking up in the hem allowance, you want to make sure you're just picking up the hem allowance. You don't want to go through to the other side here. So if you feel with your fingers underneath that you've gone in too deep, back up so you're just getting the hem allowance. And I like to put my pins sideways so their heads aren't here to get stuck on. So just keep doing that all the way down, and you want to pull your thread snug, but you don't want to pull so tight that it puckers. If you do, just kind of ease it back out. And you want to keep your stitches sort of even. They don't have to be perfect. Nobody's going to see it except you, unless you're showing it off. And then occasionally you want to go to the other side and look and see, and you can see just little teeny dots. That's all you want to see on the other side. And then back to the pants, you want to get your needle threaded with single thread and knot the end, and about 36 inches is more than enough. If you run out, you can always start and stop again, but having too much will just get tangled and just take you forever. So go ahead and do your 1/4 inch to start, and then one more right in the same place, and that'll lock your thread on. And then you want to start by going just above the hemline and pick up just a couple pieces of the fabric, and then down back into your hem allowance, and then over here and pull through. Here and pull through. And then again, just a couple little threads from the fabric. And again, make sure you're just getting your hem allowance. You don't want to go all the way through. And then keep going till you're all the way around. And then as you're going around, keep going. Oops. Doing just getting the hem allowance and a little bit in the outer fabric. And then when you get to the end or where you started, then you want to just lock off, and that's doing your 3 stitches in one place. 2, 3, Cut your thread off and you're done with the sewing. Next you want to go back to your iron, and with your pin still in there, you just want to iron the crease. Just go all the way around and iron that crease so it's nice. There we go. And then you can take your pins out and then line it up on the creases if you have them, or just fold it in half if you don't have the creases. And then go ahead and give it a nice press. And remember, test your iron. If it's a little sticky or if it looks like it's going to leave a shine, go ahead and use a press cloth. Oops. Press that back out. Do the other leg, and you have pants that are hemmed just right.